Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the pre-show. We're not quite getting started yet. We still have us a few minutes, a little bit more than 2. We're like 5-ish minutes until we get started. This show goes a little differently than the other ones on my channel. We have a little bit of a pre-show, and once the pre-show's over, we get right into the video. And ladies and gentlemen, it's Judge Manning, so you know what to expect. We have a 1-hour Manning block. It's a little bit north of an hour, but not much. So buckle up, see when we get started. Two-minute warning, ladies and gentlemen. 2-minute warning. We're almost there. We're almost there. Hey, if you're so inclined, put out a little bit of a crazy video earlier today. So when you're going to sleep tonight, come back by my channel and turn on Falling Asleep with Fleischer. Check it out. It's some custom-made ambient tones to go along with a Fleischer docket. Put me right to sleep. Might do the same for you. I don't have to use countdown clock. I thought the countdown clock was kind of cool. Well, thank you, Ant. I do appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Manic Monday. Y'all ready to watch some Manning? I know I am. Let's get into it, shall we?
she's not gonna. No, she's not gonna make us. You don't need to tell your mother what I said. Get back on this screen. Turn your camera on now. Send them out of the room. Send those two girls out of that room now. Don't say a word. Just send them out of the room. Oh, and go ahead and put yourself on mute now.
All right, we'll start with Johnny Angelo Davis. All right, this is position 5, 24 PI 003, 849, 96 days without indictment. Right now, there's a $75,000 split bond. So I've got possession of a controlled substance in Schedule 1 or 2 and possession of controlled substance in Schedule 1 or 2. But I had 107 grams of alleged fentanyl, 112 grams of meth, and 4 Xanax. Wow.
25 cycles in Georgia, 3 FTAs, 2016 and 15, 2011 false statements, 2011 robbery and ag assault, history of probation violation, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Murray.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Davis is 40 years old. He's resided in Georgia his entire life, and his whole family lives here. He has 2 children, a 15-year-old and a 20-year-old. He also has a good address residing in Fairburn with his mom and his dad. He completed 2 years of college at Atlanta Technical College and was studying computer engineering. He does currently, or he did have employment prior to his incarceration. He was working at YG Urban Cafe. He also works volunteering with the Young Generation Movement, which is a organization that's meant to help uplift kids, show them a different way of life, teach them health and wellness, things of that nature. So we are asking for a reduction in bond here, seeing as Mr. Davis has been in custody for some time now and has not been indicted. We're going to ask that count 1 be reduced to $50,000. And as you saw, count 2 was dismissed for lack of probable cause at preliminary hearing, and count 3 is already a UJR. So we'd ask that that stay the same.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, as you stated, this is an alleged 107 grams of fentanyl, which I think we're all aware how dangerous of a drug and the type of impact that that type of drug has on the community. The $75,000 bond seems like it was completely appropriate and probably in accordance with Judge Glanville's scheduling order. For that reason, Judge, Mr. Davis does have a history. He's got the open 2020 trafficking and illegal drugs. He's got some marijuana, some out-of-state possessions with intent to distribute. So for that reason, the state does believe that Mr. Davis is likely to reoffend once released and is a danger to the community based off of the amount of drugs and the dangerousness, the inherent danger that's in those drugs. For that reason, the state would consent to a bond reduction from $75,000 to $70,000. And as Ms. Murray stated, the second count is already at a UJR status.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. You have a 24-hour curfew. You can leave your house for court, lawyer, medical purposes only. Court, lawyer, medical purposes only. Stay away from 907 Marsh Trail Circle in Sandy Springs. No further contact with your co-defendants. Bailey, last name is BoulemzAoud, and Michael, Licata. No further contact with either of those people. So 70,000 and UJR. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that concludes my business for today. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ACDC. So when I call your name, wave your hand. Do we have Jesse Ashford? Okay, I'm sorry, sir. I forget your handcuff. All right. Miss Guest is here, right? Yep. All right. Position 1, Bostic 24 PI 003910. No bond as of June the 3rd, and it's 95 days without indictment and possession of firearm by a convicted felon. Pre-trial.
In regards to the defendant, let's see, what did I have? 22 cycles theft by receiving in 2016. FTA 26 counts, FTA in 2018. Holden Marietta 5/8/23, family offense, McDonough obstruction 5/30/23, Atlanta FTA that's on its booking. Georgia, Coolton the 1st, theft by taking battery family violence, 23 SC 190 cruelty, and the third battery family violence, 22 CR 001455F. The 23 SC is assigned to Judge Ingram.
All
The
right.
financial transaction card, that's from 2019.
All right.
I
Go ahead,
said
Ms. Gass.
2016, nothing further.
Yes, Your Honor. Before you is Mr. Ashford. He is 27 years old. And as you stated, he has been in custody for over 90 days, and this case has not been indicted. Therefore, this evening, he is entitled to a bond on this charge. Currently, this charge of possession of firearm by a convicted felon is in a no bond status. Mr. Ashford does have a valid address where he would reside. He has been in the Atlanta area his entire life. The address that he booked into the jail with is the address where he would live. That is in Fulton County, Your Honor. So we would ask that any restrictions that wouldn't allow him to go back to his place of residence be lifted. He does live at this address with his girlfriend, and they live with his 3 children. He does have 6 children total, 3 of whom live with him. While he's been in custody for these 90+ days, his girlfriend has not had any assistance with their children, because Mr. Ashford was a major part in assisting her with the day-to-day activities of their children. Prior to being incarcerated, he was self-employed. He owned his own cleaning services, roofing company, and where they also did flooring and painting as well. If some of this sounds familiar, Your Honor, it's because Mr. Ashford was before you last week, where we were able to get a reduction slightly on charges that were pending against him. But again, this is not the same situation as this is in a no bond status. We're asking that the court is inclined to set a bond on this charge. Seeing as though Mr. Ashford does have some indicted cases that he would have to get situated before there's any reduction in those bonds, we would ask that the court considers a $3,000 bond on the 1 count of possession of firearm by a convicted felon, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, based off Mr. Ashford's history, the convictions, the open cases, and the unindicted cases, the state does believe that Mr. Ashford is likely to reoffend and is a danger to the community. The warrants in this case allege that he was arrested based off of an potential connection to a shooting that happened at another location that his girlfriend essentially led the police to. And so for that reason, Judge, the state does believe that Mr. Ashford is a danger to the community and likely to reoffend, and will request a bond of $30,000.
Your Honor, I would just like the opportunity to rebut that. It was true that the warrant stemmed, and the reason that the officers were able to search the home is that they were investigating a alleged shooting in that area. But Mr. Ashford was never charged on any of that. He was they only gave him the charge of possession of firearm by a convicted felon. And since we are going into the facts, even though his preliminary hearing is not today, that firearm was found in a room where Mr. Ashford was not located. It was not on his person. It was found in the home where he was actually residing, Your Honor. Allegedly is where the firearm was found. It was never found on him, and he never was convicted or charged with any related shootings. Mr. Ashford does not have a violent history. Most of his crimes are connected to random thefts, Your Honor. So Mr. Ashford does not have a criminal history. I mean, a violent criminal history at all. And this is, like I said, was connected to a crime that he was never charged with.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Mr. Ashford, this also means you can't be in a car where somebody has a weapon. You can't be in a house where anybody has a weapon. You cannot be around any weapons, replicas of weapons, or anything. $20,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Let's see. Do I have so is the next person coming in for? I don't see Miss Strong though. What about, let's see. Do I have, wave your hand if I call your name. Byron McFarland? All right, Mr. Showalter. All right, position 9, Bostic, 24 PI 003 762, 99 days without indictment. $10,000 good bond as of July 17th. I'm sure you want to waive it, Mr. Showalter. Wow.
McFarland, this is his only prior Georgia arrest. South Carolina is 2 arrests. North Carolina, 1, no prior felony conviction. All of his arrests are for driving offenses. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Showalter.
Yes, Brian McFarland, he is 30 years old and he is a veteran of the United States Army. He was in for 8 years and he got honorable discharge. At the time of the incident, he was looking to re-enlist in the Army. He has an address at 870 Franklin Gateway in Marietta. That's apartment B. And he was working at the airport. He was cleaning the airplanes there. He will be seeking employment again as soon as he is released. And I want to emphasize that his record isn't bad at all. I mean, it's a lot of driving offenses. It isn't an extensive 30-some cycles or something like that. He doesn't got too much at all. It's a $10,000 bond, and I would like to see that lowered. I'm trying to get him into Veterans Court. We're trying to, just see if they can take him or not. And just whatever else there is for him, Your Honor. So I would like to see the bond down to something more manageable for him, like a $5,000 bond.
All right, any victim contact, Miss Dorsey Jones?
No, Your Honor, I made 3 attempts and was not able to reach the victim at all.
All right, since they were at the MEP station, he may have shipped out. All right, go ahead, Miss Jackson.
Yes, Judge. The state does acknowledge that Mr. McFarland has a pretty low criminal history. This is his only cycle in Georgia. And as for the other 2 states, they look like mostly traffic violations. I would have liked to have some victim contact, especially since considering the age on count 1. The state would consent to decreasing the bond to $4,000 on each.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 1419 Virginia Avenue in College Park. No further contact with Aaron Downs, DOWNS. Stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. That's the only reason you come back to Fulton County, sir. Court or to see your lawyer. And you have a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, employment. You have to provide the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working in. No further contact with anyone under the age of 18 years of age. So I'll do 4,000 on each count. Best of luck to you, sir. See, do we have, let's see, 6 North. Let me see who this is. Jamal Baker. Jamal Baker. All right. See, we got position 3, Bostic, 24 PI 003 912, 95 days without indictment. No bond as of June the 25th on aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. It looks like this incident date was July 15th of 2023. Pre-trial.
6 cycles. There's ag assault, theft by receiving firearm, first offender, 21. He's on probation, 21 SC 177594, citizen 21 for ag assault. And this criminal damage to property in second, 19 SC 173703, citizen 2020, 2 years confinement, 3 years probation. Ag assault on a public officer while engaged in his duty, sentence in 2020. That's my favorite. What's that charge on my end? Sentence in 2020, 3 years confinement, 7 years probation. And then there's 24 SC 00411, street gang, 3 counts, capital offense, felony capital offense, criminal damage to property assigned to Judge Adams, 24 SC CR 003388F, simple battery, family violence. Nothing further.
All right. Any victim contact, Ms. Dorsey Jones?
Hold on, Your Honor, I can't, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, there was no victim contact, but there were 2 attempts.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Guess.
Yes, Your Honor. Before you is Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker is 23 years old, and he has been in the Atlanta area his entire life. He does have a valid address where he would reside, and that is address where he would reside with his girlfriend. They also reside in the Atlanta area. We would ask that any restrictions that would prohibit him from being able to return back to his home be lifted, Your Honor, because again, he is a native of the Atlanta area and does have residence in the Atlanta area. Prior to being incarcerated on these charges, he was working for a temporary agency and had held that job for the last 3 months. He received his GED in 2021, and he was a caregiver for his 8-month-old daughter. Currently, right now, his 8-month-old daughter is in the care of his aunt. But like I stated, Your Honor, he was, prior to being incarcerated, the sole caregiver of that individual because his child mother is currently serving prison time. And if I'm not mistaken, she may be the alleged victim in one of these pending cases. And Mr. Booker actually has a child that is due this September, actually in a couple of weeks. So he definitely would like to be out to be able to witness the birth of his child. We understand that Mr. Booker has some capital offenses that currently he's in the process of hopefully being able to get a bond with or working with his indicted attorney on those charges. But Your Honor, today he has been in custody for 95 days, and the charges of firearm by a convicted felon, possession of firearm, discharging a firearm near public property, battery against a female who was pregnant, aggravated assault and possession of firearm during the commission. These charges, except for the misdemeanor charges, do not have bond. So today, Mr. Baker is legally entitled to a bond on all of the unindicted charges as of today. Your Honor, we're just asking that Mr. Baker get the opportunity to be given a reasonable bond under the Ayala factors. Mr. Baker does not pose any flight risk as he does have these other open matters in Fulton County, and it does not appear that he has any failure to appears on his history. He does intend to return back to Fulton County for any future court dates, Your Honor. We're just asking that the court considers placing the bond on these charges. In the case ending in 3912, we're asking for a bond of $20,000 on the aggravated assault, $10,000 on the possession of firearm by a convicted during the commission. And case ending in 3913, we're asking for a $5,000 bond on the possession of firearm by a convicted felon, and we're asking for a reduction of $5,000 on the discharging of firearm near a public highway, and $5,000 on a battery against a pregnant female, Your Honor.
And I'm sorry, Bosick just reminded me, it's also position 4, and that's the 24 PI 003913. Firearm by convicted felon discharged near a public highway or battery against a female. And as of June 3rd, there's a $20,000 good bond on that. Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, based off of Madam Pretrial's rendition of Mr. Baker's history, it's clear that Mr. Baker is a danger to the community. He is 23 years old, and if you look at his history, it starts in 2018 and hasn't stopped since. The charges are just getting increasingly worse and increasingly more dangerous, posing a more significant danger to the community. Judge, the position 3 happened in July of 2023. And less than a year later, we got position 4, and both of which are violence towards another person. If you've read the warrant on position 3, he actually shot a man in the back of his neck. And then additionally, less than a year later, got into some type of physical altercation with a girlfriend, where he basically physically attacked her while she was pregnant. Judge, there's no doubt that Mr. Baker is a danger to the community and likely a danger to these victims if he is released. I understand he's in on capital charges, but I believe that these should be looked at separately, and they should be given a bond that is commensurate with the criminal history and the court's desire to keep the community and the victims safe in this case. For that reason, Judge, the state is requesting, as to position 3, $250,000 on the aggravated assault, $100,000 on the possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, $100,000 on a firearm by a convicted felon. As to position 4, the state is requesting a bond of $100,000 on the firearm by a convicted felon. And I did not hear the bonds that were stated for the other 2, but it is
10 and 10.
This is a motion to reconsider bond, which means that the court has the discretion to go up and deviate in an upward direction on these bonds, which seems more than appropriate in this case. For that reason, the state will request a bond of $30,000 on discharge of a firearm on or near a public highway or street, and $30,000 on the battery against a female who was pregnant.
And Your Honor, I would just like the opportunity to rebut. Again, Mr. Becker, the underlying charges are not what we're here for, is whether or not he's a good candidate for bond under the Ayala factors. These are allegations against Mr. Baker. If the case against Mr. Baker was as egregious as the state presented today, these cases can be indicted, and he wouldn't have been able to be eligible for a bond today if at the 95th day he had had an indictment on these charges. So we would ask that the court takes into consideration that these are only allegations and have not been proven to be true at all. And again, I was at the preliminary hearing for both of these cases, Your Honor. And the state's case, in my opinion, is shaky at best. But again, they do have the opportunity to indict this case. And but as of today, without the indictment, Mr. Baker is presumed innocent of these charges. So we would ask that the court also take that into consideration, seeing as he is entitled legally to a bond as of today.
And Judge, real quick, just as to the Ayala factors, in case I wasn't clear on the first time, the state does believe that Mr. Baker is a danger to the victim in this case. He's a danger to the community, and based off his criminal history, he's likely to defend.
All right, and all right, so on position 3, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 532 Cleveland Avenue. No further contact with Deterian, Deterrion, Floyd, Floyd. You'll have a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, and medical. That's the only reason you can leave your house. Court, lawyer, and medical. So 100,000, 50,000, and 50,000. 100,000, 50,000, and 50,000. On position 4, that's not the Compton Drive. That's not where he's going to live, right?
No, Your Honor, he's not gonna live on Compton Drive.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 1970 Compton Drive, Southeast. No further contact with SHYKIL, last name Scott, SCOTT. You're going to have a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, and medical. The only reason you can leave your house, court, lawyer, and medical. So we got 100,000, 10,000, 10,000. Best of luck to you, sir. You can lay the booth. I'll include those on my email too, all of them.
And Your Honor,
Judge, can I make an announcement?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Guest. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We have some staffing challenges at the over in Union City, and we're not able to pull those inmates.
All right, so that'd be Colvin Lindsay and Jaquan Withers.
Yes, ma'am.
So let's see. Well, Miss Gibson. Did Miss Gibson, is she the one that left? Or is it Medinger left, right?
I believe it was Strong, correct?
Yeah, but I mean from the conflict.
Your Honor, Attorney Medinger no longer works with ARPD.
All right, but
Miss Gibson is still there.
Oh, okay, so she's not here on hers. What about Jaquan Withers? That's Princeton Hines, it says. Were one of y'all going to cover for Mr. Hines?
Not to my knowledge, Your Honor, but I can inquire and see what's going on with that.
All right. Well, I'm sure he probably didn't talk to him, so we'll reset these two.
And Judge, do you have a reset date on that, or are we gonna wait for the calendar?
Yeah. Do you need to? I think he's already published the ones for probably in 2 weeks. Mr. Dale.
Your Honor, I do believe Miss Gibson is here.
Oh, where's it? Miss Gibson? Oh, okay.
Yes, Judge. My sincerest apologies for my tardiness.
Did you hear that they're having some staffing problems? So at South Annex, they can't produce Mr. Lindsay.
That is fine, Judge. I honestly don't know why he was reset for today's bond calendar.
I guess it was because he had a 5,000 since April.
Right. And we were heard previously and I verbally withdrew the motion. I'm happy to file a withdrawal of the motion for this case because he's got more pressing matters that we need to be heard on bond rather than this one that's already set for 5,000.
All right, so, Mr. Dukes, he can withdraw that motion, so we don't have to replace that back on one.
Okay, Judge. And I'll reset position 10 possibly next week.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Gibson. And who's gonna handle Ms. Strong's case?
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Since Ms. Strong's gone, who's handling that? Do we know?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Scott will be handled by Attorney Lang.
Okay, so right now we got, an Eddie Price, Mr. Rogowski, is at Grady.
Okay.
I don't know if you
Sorry,
were
I
able
don't
to talk to
know
him.
why my camera's not on.
That's okay. He's got a 10,000. I don't know if you were able to waive it or how long he'll be there.
Your Honor, I don't believe it's in my client's best interest to waive his presence. So I would request for that to be reset if possible.
Okay, we can reset that one. And this one is Juarez Scott. So you want to get Mr. Lang, I guess?
Yes. He's right here.
All right, there we go. Let's see. All right, position 6, Bostic, Juarez Scott, 24 PI 002 574, 146 days without indictment. As of July the 11th, there is a $22,500 good bond. We got, let's see, possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, crossing guard lines or correctional institution with prohibited items, possession of controlled substance Schedule 1 or 2, possession of controlled substance Schedule 1 or 2. Preach. Rah.
Open case 24 PI 001960, purchase, manufacturing, sale firearm during 24 SC 002128, Schedule 2, Schedule 4, purchase, possession, manufacturing, sale, MDMA, 24 SC 004137, Schedule 1 or 2, firearm during, firearm by, 2 counts, marijuana with intent, MDMA with intent. 23 CP 218214, purchase, manufacturing, sale. There's a 2018 MDMA, cocaine, marijuana with the intent, firearm during, firearm by a first offender. Nothing further.
Go ahead, Mr. Lang.
13 cycles, 1 FDMA. 1 FTA, 2019.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Lang.
Yes, Your Honor. First, just to bring to the court's awareness, I know we heard about several open cases. This matter is currently the only case holding him in custody, the only case on which there's an unpaid bond. As Your Honor stated, that bond is currently at $22,500. Mr. Scott has been in custody for the last 146 days. Again, dealing with each of those cases now, this is the last barrier to his release. I am the attorney on his indicted matters, so I've picked up the unindicted matters as well. Mr. Scott is 33 years old. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. He has 4 children here in Georgia whom he cares for. He's actively involved in their lives and provides financial support to them and their mothers. He was working with Peachtree Moving at the time of his arrest. He had been there for a little over a year and is hopeful he could return there upon his release. He has a high school education. He has extensive family in the area, his mother and siblings included, has a good address where he lives with his mother in Decatur. Based on all the information presented, the length of time this case has been open, the length of time Mr. Scott has been in custody, I'm asking the court to more than halve the bond and reduce the bond to a total of $10,000 good.
Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Judge, listening to Madam Pretrial's rendition of the criminal history, I don't think there's any more picture perfect of a case that would be one that doesn't meet the Ayala factor of not likely to reoffend. Mr. Scott has all these open cases. He's got tons and tons and tons of drug cases. I mean, that's just the easy way to say it. He has tons and tons of drug cases. As for the purchase, possession, manufacture, distribution of marijuana, the state does acknowledge that was 44 grams. So not much higher than what we would normally see for an ounce. The state would have no objection to reducing that to 6,000. As to the crossing the guard lines, the state would have no objection to reducing that to 3,000. As to the possession of a Schedule 1 or 2 that appeared to be 2 tablets of ecstasy, the state would have no objection to reducing that to 3,000. And as of the possession of 25 oxycodone pills, that's already set at 2,500, the state would have no objection to reducing that to or I'm sorry, 2,000 from the 25,000. I just would put on the record that the officers did observe hand-to-hand transactions. So while these are just allegations, those are a part of the allegations in this case.
All right.
And Your Honor, I apologize very briefly, just before you make your decision, I did want to just let the court know, I just happened to look up and 24 PI 001961, one of those open cases we heard about, was declined to prosecute by Madam DA's office last week on the 28th.
Okay. All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 850 Oak Street. Stay out of Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. That's the only reason you darken the doors of Fulton County, sir. Court or to see your lawyer. Make sure you keep your address updated through your lawyer, so if you get a hearing notice, you'll be able to appear. Let's see. So 5,000, 3,000, 3,000, and 1,500. 5,000, 3,000, 3,000, 1,500. Best of luck to you, sir. And I'll include you in my email tonight, Mr. Lang, and I'll send all these over to Ms. Willis.
And Your Honor, you said that was 533, 1.5?
5, 3, 3, and 1,500.
Okay. Mr. Scott, that's a total of 12.5. 12.5.
So the first one that we will take is going to be position 9, Donald Gray. Bostic, you ready? Bostic. You're on mute, Bostic.
I am.
You ready?
I reckon so.
Okay then. All right. So it's position 9, Donald Gray. We got 24 PI 003 078 Donald Gray, 126 days without indictment. There's a $5,000 good bond as of June the 18th. Burglary in the first degree and theft by taking.
40 cycles, and he's on some old probations. One is mathematically is from 08. It was a 20-year sentence for burglary. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 other felonies more than 10 years old, and then there's another old burglary from 2016. That's another. That was a 10-year sentence. 16 SC 144275, and 1 FTA in 2014. Nothing further.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Steffo.
Your Honor, Mr. Gray has been in custody for 126 days on these charges. He is 54 years old and a lifelong resident of Atlanta. We are working to get him into housing right now and into a drug treatment program. He has been prematurely accepted into canine cellmates as long as we can get him housing as well as drug treatment. So we are asking for a bond reduction for a total amount of $2,000 on both charges so that we can find him bonding assistance.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Morrow. Go ahead. What says the state?
Yes, Your Honor. The state would ask for the bond to remain as set. I do just a quick pull of his name in Odyssey. I saw multiple arrests for theft related charges, burglary, entering autos. So he does present a very significant risk of reoffending. So the state will be recommending the bond remain as set given his history.
All right. All right, so we have no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 275 10th Street. No further contact with Neil, Neal Patel, common spelling, and no further contact with your alleged co-defendant, James Crooks, Crooks. Let me see. I already said no drugs, no alcohol. Let me make sure. And stay out of Midtown. So you got to know where the Midtown area is in Atlanta and stay out of Midtown, sir. So what I'll do right now is let's see. 2,000 and 1,500. Best of luck to you, sir. They should be able to do that, right, Ms. Steffo?
I believe so, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Well, have a good time at the baseball game. Think about the rest of us.
And Your
I've
Honor,
got one more, Mr. Thomas.
Sorry, Judge, just to put on the record, I'm not sure whether this was heard at the last hearing, but we were able to get in contact with the victim, and the victim stated that they were fearful of the defendant. So just for the record.
Is that Donald Gray?
This was, I'm not sure, Judge.
You don't know which
Sorry.
case? That's okay.
I'm not sure which victim. Hold on.
No, is it the Donald Gray case?
Yes, Judge, yes.
Oh, okay. So stay out of Midtown, sir. I tell you what, sir, when you get out of there, you'll have a 24-hour curfew, court lawyer, medical, and participation in that program. That's the only reason you leave. All right. Best of luck to you, sir. All right. Thank you, Ms. Steffo. That's it.
No, Judge, I have one more case. I have Mr. Jamal Thomas.
Thomas. Jamal Thomas, are you here?
I do not see him.
All right. As soon as you see him, because he will be in 6 North. As soon as you see him, if you see him, let me know, okay?
Okay, thank you, Judge.
All right. Wakila Tucker, position 1 on the add-on Bostic, 24 PI 003 876, 99 days without indictment, $15,000 good bond as of May the 31st. Got aggravated assault and battery. Looks like it's alleged stabbed, stabbed victim where he lives.
24 cycle or old theft by receiving 2017 ag assault, family violence, 2 counts, battery, family violence in 2020, FTA in 2020, nothing further.
All right. Go ahead. Is Ms. Murray here? Yep. Go ahead, Ms. Murray.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Tucker has been in custody 105 days. She is 46 years old. She's a lifelong Georgia resident. She has plenty of family here, aunts, uncles, her mother. She also has 4 children that live here and 3 grandchildren plus 1 on the way. She does have a good address residing in Atlanta. Due to her being disabled, she does not she's not doing full-time employment. However, prior to her arrest, she did have a job lined up working at a senior citizens home. Ms. Tucker has been accepted into Women on the Rise. And as you'll see, Ms. Browning from Women on the Rise is here today in support of Ms. Tucker. We're hoping to get her bond lowered so that she can participate in some of their programming. I also did receive several calls from the alleged victim in this case. And he stated that he was not interested in seeing this case move forward. So we would ask that the bond be reduced significantly to give Ms. Tucker a chance to participate in Women on the Rise. We're going to ask that on the aggravated assault, given that it was with a knife and not a firearm, that be reduced to $2,500, and for the battery that be reduced to $1,000.
So she's not going to live at 433 Camrose Way, right?
No, Your Honor.
All right. What says the state?
Your Honor, the state would be opposed to the bond being lower at this point. I did see a 2018 ag assault conviction in this defendant's history. So she does present a risk of reoffending. Our office hasn't heard from the victim, but it is the state's case at this point. So we are proceeding with this case. So we would ask that the bond remain as set.
All right. We got no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. You have a 24-hour curfew, ma'am, court, lawyer, medical, and participation in the Women on the Rise program. You also have to supply an address where you're going to be living and keep it updated. Let's see. No further contact with Henry Fitzpatrick. Stay away from 433 Camrose, C-A-M-R-O-S-E, Way Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. I'll do 8,000 and 3,000. Best of luck to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that concludes my business for today. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good weekend because I'm going on a vacation. I'll see you Tuesday.
Oh, lovely. Enjoy.
Thank you. All right, Miss Steffo. So Jamal Thomas, is that you? Wave your hand. All right, thank you, sir. All right, we got position 4, Bostic, 24 PI 000-515, 230 days without indictment. I've got a $55,000 good bond as of June the 21st. Armed robbery, battery, possession of a knife or a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of firearm by a convicted felon.
18 arrests in Louisiana, 5 in Texas, 4 in Georgia. Assault, bodily injury, family member in 2017, evading arrest in Texas. Open case 24 SC 003-245, firearm by 2 counts obstruction, purchase, manufacture, and sale of firearm during FTA in 24 on probation, firearm by 2/12/24, 22 SC 183-000, 2/12/24, 3 years, nothing further.
This is number 4, Mr. Malcolm. I don't know which
Thank you.
one of you going.
Appreciate it.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Steffo.
Yes, Your Honor, Mr. Thomas is 40 years old. He's been in Atlanta for the last 5 years. He does have some cousins and aunts here. He has 3 children, a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old who's to on the phone regularly while he's been in custody. He does have his GED and is a certified electrician. He's been working with D-Best Electrical Service for the last 6 years and would be able to go back. He does have a stable address here on Sunset Avenue where he's lived for about 5 years that he's been here with his cousin. And I have confirmed he would be able to go back. We are asking for a significant reduction in this case, given the fact that he's been in custody for 230 days without indictment. I would ask that all the charges get granted a bond of $10,000, Your Honor.
So I'll give you, you can respond to this. So this incident date was allegedly 12/27/23. And he had bond conditions, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. However, on 1/19/24, he was arrested for possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. So that kind of worries me.
Yes, Your Honor. It's my understanding that those cases, he got arrested on that case, the one that just recently got indicted. And when he got arrested for that case, this warrant popped up. So it wasn't that he was given the bond conditions and then violated them. He was just arrested while this warrant was already out.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Malcolm.
And what is his bond now? It says 56,000, but
55.
55,000. State would ask for a $50,000 bond, please.
All right. We got where's he going? Is he going to live in the metro area?
Yes, Your Honor. He's going to be living at Sunset Avenue, Northwest Atlanta, Georgia.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Stay away from 1021 Fair Street Southwest in Atlanta, Georgia. Also, no further contact with Tovar, Tovar Gordon, Gorden. It will do 25,000, 4,000, 8,000, and 8,000. 25,000, 4,000, 8,000, and 8,000. Now we'll put him
Your
on.
Honor, I apologize. If I may, it does say on his jail screening that his armed robbery is set at 3,000, his battery is set at 5,000, possession of a firearm is set at 10,000, and then possession of a firearm by a convicted felon is set at 10,000.
So I'm just looking at a copy of the bond order. So that must be something because it's 30 and 5, then 10, then 10.
Okay, I think they just misput it in the system.
Yes, ma'am. So best of luck to you, sir. You can lead the booth.
And Judge, that concludes my business. May I be excused now?
Ma'am, enjoy the ball game.
Thank you. Have a good one. Have a good vacation.
Thank you.
Your Honor, my business is concluded as well. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, ADA Salary, for filling in for me. Appreciate it. Judge, I apologize for being late. Court ran late this afternoon.
Imagine that.
I know
it. All right. Do we have Anthony Washington? Wave your hand. All right, Mr. Washington. All right, Mr. Dobbs, we got position 8, Bostic 24 PI 003-739, 103 days without indictment, paid to register, and there's a $1,000 good bond on June the 14th. Wow.
8 cycles of meth in 2018, meth, cocaine obstruction, 2018, controlled purchase, manufacturing, 07, terror, robbery, kidnapping, 2 counts, armed robbery, burglary, CWAC from the 90s.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Dobbs.
Thank you, Judge. Full disclosure for the state and the court. The bond that is currently set is the result of a consent bond that I came to with the state in court. My conversations with my client indicated that he would be able to make this bond, but he has not. I apologize for coming back on this, but when people are in jail, they don't always have the best access to information of what they can and cannot make. This is the amount where we could get bail assistance. The problem is Mr. Washington has a hold, so a foreign county hold. So I've contacted the Georgia Justice Project, who can sometimes clear those up if somebody's been in long enough. Haven't heard back on those. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. Mr. Washington is 45 years old. this he's actually 46 years old now. He turned 46 in jail. He has a fixed address on Austell Road in Austell, Georgia, in Cobb County. He resides there with various family members. I think his mom and his aunt. He's a lifelong resident of the state of Georgia. He is a high school graduate. At the time of his arrest, he was working for Hire Quest. That's a temp service. He's confident that he can return to Hire Quest. Judge, hearing his history, pretty much all of the violent history. I think the underlying charge, which is the reason for this charge, is all in the 90s. I would like the court to take note of that. Mr. Washington has not been accused of anything violent or CWAC in quite a while, since I was a small child. So I just want the court to keep that in mind. He has strong ties to the area. I apologize for coming back on a consent bond, but it is what is necessary at this point. Mr. Washington has been in jail for 103 days as a legally innocent person, not able to assert defenses because his case has not been indicted. For those reasons, Judge, I'm asking for a reduction on the bond to $300 and a conversion to the sheriff's 10% program. Thank you.
So he couldn't make the sheriff's 10% program at 1,000?
He could not, no. And the hold prevents me from seeking bail assistance. I'm waiting on the Georgia Justice Project.
All right, I got you. Go ahead, Mr. Malkin.
Well, can we reduce it to 700 or 800?
Mr. Dobb.
I'm going to stick with my initial recommendation of 300. But of course, we appreciate the state offering to come down on this bond. We would appreciate any reduction, but given the amount of time he's been in, given that there's no violent history since the 90s or CWAC since the 90s, I'm going to ask for that $300 through the sheriff's 10% program. Thank you.
Mr. Washington, thumbs up or thumbs down? Can somebody come up with like $70? No? You ain't got no family. No, I can't hear you. You ain't got no family that's got $70. Mr. Malkin.
Where is his hold from?
It is from Douglas County.
Okay.
I'm working on trying to get something done with it.
Yeah. I guess we can do a release to the hold and then require him to report within 48 hours.
I would love that.
Can you do that with a violation though?
Not sure.
I don't believe that this charge is bail restricted. If your honor would give me a moment to verify that.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to take up the court's time.
Bostic, is it? Bostic usually knows him.
Bostic
I
does
don't
know.
recall that being on there.
Okay.
I'm almost positive that it's not.
All right.
Thank you, ADA Malkin.
All right. So here's what we can do. We'll, Mr. Dukes, you remember how to do this. So we'll do $300 through the 10% program or a signature bond to the whole.
And I'll prepare, should I prepare some sort of transport thing or something for that?
Sure. Yeah, you can send it to me.
Okay, I'll prepare a transport order to the Douglas County Sheriff's Department.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. You must register within 24 hours of being released. So if you got to go to Douglas, and stay out of Fulton County. The only reason you come back to Fulton County is quarter to see your lawyer. All right. So it'll be $300 through the 10%, or in case the hold says they don't, I don't know what the hold's for exactly. So if they don't come pick you up, you can at least still make bond. All right. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth.
And Mr. Washington, I'm going to prepare that transport order for the judge's signature this evening. Thank you, sir.
All right. Do we have Kobby Walding? Wave your hand. Everybody's on mute, so you got to wave your hand. There we go. Outstanding. It's position 10, and it was transferred up. So it's 24 PI 005648. And I didn't even write down how long they've been in jail. I'm slacking. I think it's been a minute, but there was a $3,000 bond through pretrial, but I think pretrial came off of it in March. So right now you're at no bond, and it is a felony obstruction of a police officer.
It was 238 days, Your Honor.
Thank you. 238.
It's 3 cycles. No prior felony arrest, misdemeanor conviction, death by taking, and criminal trespass this year. Nothing further.
Right. Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Walding is 24 years old. He is originally from Mississippi, and he actually was arrested while he was traveling from Tennessee back home to Mississippi. So he actually does not really have any connections here to Atlanta or the state of Georgia at all. Your Honor, he has become homeless as a result of his extended stay here at Rice Street. Your Honor, he's been in since January. He was a ward of the state of Mississippi and was raised in foster care. He has a brother and sister who are now located in Tennessee and South Carolina, respectively. But it was Mr. Walding's plan to return to Mississippi, where he has some connections to help get him reintegrated into society, Your Honor. So at this time, he doesn't have any money to make any kind of bond. I will be reaching out to his family. But this one was an upgrade from misdemeanor, and I guess there was some, this one slipped through the cracks that he wasn't able to get a court date or anything up until this point to have this addressed. He did, I think, have some kind of bond through pretrial, and then he was arrested in January, and pretrial came off that bond. And of course, since July 1st, this felony obstruction charge is now a bail restricted offense. So, Your Honor, he's been in over 250 days at this point. We'd be asking for as low of a bond as possible. Hopefully something, maybe $100 for the sheriff's 10% program or something that can be worked out that way, so that Mr. Walding can be released. He does have a hold, I believe, out of Mississippi, and he would be happy to go and deal with that there, Your Honor. And to be frank, I also have not been able to locate the warrant specifically for this one, so I'm not sure the reason for the upgrade.
But it says he punched the officer, was it Hammonds, in the face. I know I had to, because you don't have access to the state court thing, but I've got it and I looked it up.
Understood. Thank you, Your Honor. I figured it was something along those lines, but just wanted to make it clear what's been going on our end so far up to this point. So once again, we'd be asking for a bond as low as possible at this point. $100 through the sheriff's 10% program, or at the very least, something that we would be able to go to the bail project and work out some kind of release for Mr. Walding, because he doesn't have any help here. He doesn't have any connections, and he doesn't have even a penny. He would not be able to make a $1 bond on his own.
So just let me ask you a quick question. So his brother and sister live in Tennessee, but he's going to go to Mississippi, where his brother and sister doesn't live.
Correct. It's where he's originally from, and he still has some connections due to his time living in foster care there. His brother and his sister both are older than him, I think significantly older, and have children and families. He was staying with his brother for a short amount of time, but his brother said that he wouldn't be able to stay there long term. And so it was his intent to get on a Greyhound and go back to Mississippi. He missed the transfer here in Atlanta and unfortunately got into a little bit of trouble. And now it has been about 9 months that he's been trying to get home.
All right. So, sir, just thumbs up or thumbs down. Did you sign yourself out of care before you were older? No? So you were still in care as an adult? Okay. So you got that extra stuff that's provided by the juvenile court, correct? Where they help you find housing and stuff like that? You think so? Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Malkin.
The state requests a $5,000 bond.
All right. So it's no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. I think Officer Earl Hammonds, no further contact and no further violent contact with any other law enforcement officer. You must provide an address where you'll be living. Because if not, sir, and you don't have an address, a notice is going to be sent out. And if you don't keep in touch with your lawyer, you're going to miss court bench warrant. It's just going to be a horrible spiral into a black hole. So stay out of the state of Georgia and Fulton County unless you're here for court or to see your lawyer. So the only reason you come back to the state of Georgia or Fulton County if you're getting a bus and taking it here for court or to see your lawyer. All right. Yeah, have to provide an address where you're living and keep that updated. So we'll do a $5,000 good bond, and it can go through there or the 10% program. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Yeah.
And Your Honor, that concludes my business. If I may be excused.
Yes, sir. Have a good evening. All
Thank
right.
you as well.
So I've got Winfred Sherman. All right. Position 6, Bostic 24 PI 003901, 104 days without indictment, a $40,000 good bond as of July the 12th on aggravated assault and possession of firearm by a convicted felon. Right.
22 cycles history of probation violation, old ag assault weapon with a deadly weapon firearm by old controlled substance, 2020 simple battery, and old false imprisonment simple battery. So the most recent is the 2010 simple battery family violence. Nothing further.
Mr. Malkin or Ms. Rose, do y'all know if there's been any contact with the victim before Mr. Dobbs? Because it says the victim was shot in the right leg. I'm just curious if there's been any contact.
No, you're.
All right. So go ahead, Mr. Dobbs.
Thank you, Judge.
A victim locate was sent out.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Dobbs.
Mr. Winfred is 42 years old. He has a fixed address on Abner Terrace, where he resides with his 3 children and their mother. He's a lifelong resident of the Atlanta area. His only income is through SSDI because he was hit by a car and has rod and screws in his leg. He's prescribed painkillers, which he takes for that. He attended Carver and Douglas high schools, both local. I believe from the pretrial report. We didn't hear any FTAs indicating that Mr. Winfred is overall good at coming to court. Of course, that is one of the primary purposes of bond. Mr. Winfred is legally innocent of these accusations. He's been in jail for 104 days. That's 104 days as a legally innocent person. He's not been able to fully assert his defenses because his case has not been moved forward by the state. Given the ties to the area, Judge, given how much time he has been in jail. For those reasons, Judge, we're asking for a bond of $25,000. I understand aggregate bond of $25,000. I understand that is a significant reduction, but my position is that the state has had ample time to indict this matter under the current bond. Thank you.
All right. Is he going to live in Fulton County?
Abner, let me look at Abner Terrace real fast. I think that is in Fulton County. Let me just please check.
You gonna live in Fulton County, sir? Thumbs up or thumbs down?
It is, Judge. It is in Fulton County. It's northwest.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Malkin.
Thank you. He's not been in custody all that long, considering a lot of the cases that we've seen. He does have a history of aggravated assault with a firearm, conviction for that. And in this case, he's accused of shooting somebody. So the state believes he does pose a significant danger to the community as well as reoffending, and the state would request a $38,000 bond.
All right. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. Make sure you supply an address where you live, and also keep the court and your lawyer advised of where that is. Stay away from 2656 Donnelly Hollowell Parkway Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia. No further contact with Darnell, Darnell Green, Green. Also, sir, you're going to have a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, well, you don't work. So court, medical, and employment. That's the only reason you leave your house. Court, medical, or employment. So we'll make it, let's see.
Legal, can I get attorney meetings?
I didn't say yet. And just meet with your lawyer.
Thank you.
All right. And to meet with your lawyer. Sorry about that. So we'll do 25,000 and 5,000. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Judge. That concludes my business. May I please be excused?
Yes, sir. Have a good weekend.
You as well. Thank you.
We got somebody here in Illinois. Who is that? Oh, Mr. Dawkins. So, Mr. Dobbs, you here? Are you Mr. Dawkins? Oh, I think Mr. Dobbs. Mr. Dobbs? Can you hear me? Mr. Dobbs. So Mr. Dobbs got a report back, Mr. Dawkins, and he withdrew his motion, but he can explain that. I thought he was still on or could hear me. He'll explain that to you later, okay? So we won't address your bond today, but he'll get you back in here, okay? Thank you, sir. You can leave the booth. All right, let's see what we got here. So this one, we got position 5 was indicted. Gregory Shockley. Sylvester Williams was indicted. Alonta Walker was indicted, and Calvin Strong was transferred to state court. So now we've got, let's see, we got Carlos Benitez. Sir, start the camera. I guess we got to end up with oh, not Mr. Shoemaker. Good, thank goodness it's going to be Mr. Fairfield instead. All right, Mr. Benitez, if you raise your right hand, you swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. You gotta take yourself off mute.
Yes.
All right, spell your name for the court reporter, please.
Carlos, Carlos, last name Benitez, Benitez.
All right. Let's see. So we got 23 CP 216133. He's out on a $50,000 good bond as of April the 20th. It's possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, 2 counts of ag assault, and another possession of firearm.
No progress, nothing to add.
All right. Who's taking it, Mr. Shoemaker? You unmuted yourself, which scares me because I thought Mr. Fairfield was talking, but go ahead, Mr. Shoemaker.
Mr. Fairfield has this motion, Your Honor. I'll mute myself if it would make you feel better.
That's okay. I got the power to mute you.
Okay.
Mr. Fairfield.
Afternoon, Your Honor. This case has been out since February 9th, 2023. The incident occurred on that day. Mr. Benitez contends he acted in self-defense that day. He turned himself in the same day. He was in custody for about 2 months at Rice Street until about April 12th, 2023, when he was granted that $50,000 bond. A condition of his bond was to wear an ankle monitor and to remain on house arrest. This ankle monitor has caused him hardship, especially in his professional career, as laid out in our motion. He is a real estate agent, and as part of being a real estate agent, he is, of course, a professional. He goes to different houses, and he has to have clients trust him when he is listing a house that they're selling or selling them a home. Your Honor, his entire job relies on trust, and so he has lost credibility and he's lost money due to his inability to show certain houses at certain times and to be traveling from place to place. It's not only the fact that he has the ankle monitor and it's a physical piece on him that he is afraid that somebody's going to see and trust him less, but it's also something that is going to that prevents him and puts fear in him that if he goes to show a house at a certain time that he's going to be picked up along the way, and he has declined showing houses and has certainly lost revenue as a result. Your Honor, he's one of the top agents at his brokerage. He had the same job both before and after his 60 days in custody. He works on a team within the Atlanta Realty team that is the #2 team in the country. He has worked an incredible amount, and he's actually showed 10 houses just yesterday as an example, Your Honor. That is, certain realtors are lucky to show 10 houses in a month. Those are matters of hardship as in terms of the conditions of this bond. As far as his risk to the community, Your Honor, as pretrial stated, he has no priors. He is 25 years of age. He lives with his parents here in town. He turned himself in on the same day as the incident, so he was never a felon. In terms of the victims, any risk to them, he does not know them personally. He doesn't know where they stay, where they live, anything like that. He has strong ties to the community, as was evidenced by approximately, I believe it was over 50 individuals who showed up for his bond hearing in April 2023. Strong ties to the religious community here in Atlanta. And as a part of this, he'd like to be out in the community more, being involved, volunteering, doing those sorts of things that are beneficial to the community. Your Honor, he has previously offered to surrender his passport as a condition of his bond. That was not something that was required as a part of his bond, but if the court feels any sort of fear that he may be a flight risk, he has lived in Atlanta his whole life. He's an American citizen, all of those things, but he would be more than happy to surrender his passport if it gives the state or the court any more security on that matter.
So he's living in Beaufort. Does he work in Fulton County?
Yes, Your Honor. He works in the Atlanta metro area.
So he
General.
comes to Fulton County for work?
Yes,
Okay. Is he paying for this ankle monitor?
he is, Your Honor. It's $250 per month.
Ooh. He must not have came in front of me, but that's okay. Mr. Malcolm, what do you think? I don't know if you had any contact with Mr. Long or Mr. Bolin.
Ms. Rhodes, have we had any contact with either victim?
No, we left voicemails.
All right, thank you. Your Honor, the state is opposed to the defendant's motion to remove the ankle monitor. He's accused of shooting multiple people, 2 individuals, and we would love to have his passport, but we're also opposed to his request to remove the ankle monitor at this time. And we may not be opposed to it some date in the future, but right now the state is opposed to it.
And I don't think we got any more money for the county to pay for it, Mr. Malcolm. Now we're doing all these things now for ankle monitors. First offense. He has to come to Fulton County, Mr. Fairfield?
I believe so, Your Honor. I'm looking at my client for a nod or a shake of the head, but I believe many of his listings are in Fulton County.
Mr. Benitez.
Can I say something? Yeah. So I work out of.
Only if it's
I would rather you didn't say anything. Just tell me yes or no. Do you have listings within Fulton County? Yes.
He nods his head yes. Do we know the status of the victims?
And Your Honor, it's been 18 months that he has been out without a problem. And before that, it was 24 years without a problem.
And he's been out that long on the ankle monitor?
That whole time he's been out, he's had the ankle monitor on.
Right.
He's been a model citizen before this happened. He's been a model citizen after it happened. We contend it was self-defense. I'm not at all surprised they haven't reached these 2 guys, because I will state in my place, I think these 2 guys are thugs, drug dealers, and I think it was self-defense. Mr. Malcolm was going to shake his head, but he had to look to somebody else to find out if they even had any contact with these guys. Okay.
So Mr. Malcolm,
I-
it's been 18 months without an indictment.
That's right.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we're about to have a calendar to do that, to remove those if they haven't offended. So, Mr. Benitez, here's what I'm going to do. I'll just, Mr. Shoemaker, if you send a modified bond, you send me one to remove the ankle monitor.
Yes, ma'am.
You'll need to get in touch with the new folks. Who is that? Mr. Dukes, who's the new folks that handle it? Wait, I know who it is. I just
A second chance?
yeah, second chance monitoring.
That's correct, Jim.
Let's see. Let me see if there's a basic. I just got somebody's cell phone number on here. And I think they're also at ATO bail, second chance bail bonds. So he can call them and work it out. I know that Meredith Forbes is the operations manager there. So you have to get in touch with them. It'll be no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no replicas of weapons. And you're still going to reside at the Lawfridge Drive in Beaufort, Georgia?
Yes, he is, Your Honor. And that's with his parents, if Mr. Fairfield didn't say that.
Yeah, he did. So must reside at 2516 Lawfridge Drive, LOUGHRIDGE Drive in Beaufort, Georgia.
Okay.
No further contact with Thomas Long. Antoine, ANTJUAN, Bolin, BOLLEN. And what we'll do is we'll still make you on that 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, and meetings with your lawyer. And you can also just go ahead and just surrender your passport to Mr. Shoemaker. Don't know if you have family that lives out of the country. Heaven forbid something happened to your family and you need to leave. All Mr. Shoemaker's got to do is get in touch with Mr. Malcolm, file a motion, and we could obviously make an exception for you to go there.
Very well.
But unless you're doing one of those things, unless you're working in Fulton County showing a house, you need to stay out of Fulton County. Don't come here for drinks, anything else. Stay out of Fulton County unless it's for work. So if you're showing a house, show a house and get out of Fulton County. Don't even get gas in Fulton County.
I'm not even charged with anything, and I do that. You know, I don't want to be in Fulton County.
I know, Mr. Shoemaker, you need to stay out. Sure. All right, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Benitez. Thank you, Mr. Fairfield.
Mr. Shoemaker, Mr. Fairfield, if you have some evidence or other things you want to present to our office to consider, you can get a hold of Kevin Majeski in our case intake section, and either he or one of his folks, I'm sure, would be glad to speak with you.
I appreciate that. We'll follow up. Thank you very much.
Maybe make it Mr. Fairfield that contacts him, though, not Mr. Shoemaker. Mr. Mack.
He's been taking diplomacy for dummies. I have not.
I got that boyish charm, Your Honor.
Thank you. May we be excused, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank
Good
you
to
all.
see you, Mr. Fairfield, Mr. Shoemaker. Best of luck to you, Mr.
Thank you,
Benitez.
Your Honor.
Looks like that's it, correct?
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we got for this evening. We're going to be going to American courts right now next. I am your lone wolf Usul. I do this every Monday at 7 p.m. We have a Saturday show that starts at noon Eastern time. Stick around for American courts. Hey, just on the note of that last guy right there, it could have been self-defense. I'm really on the fence for that one. That was one of the more interesting ones that I've seen in a long time. So might be worth watching over again and comment about it down below. You know how all this stuff goes. It's great hanging out with you guys. Chat's been wonderful. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for the big and raid, all the big and raiders. Let's raid American courts. Y'all have a great night. See you later.